Hello, fellow saints, brothers and sisters. Today is January 9th, 2017, and this is part 2 of the Revelation 12 signs. This part is called the first Exodus of the children of Israel. The first video was an introduction to what we're going to do and how we're going to look at planet Jupiter and the constellation Virgo to see how the great sign of Revelation is played out by the movement of Jupiter through the constellation Virgo. The planet Jupiter represents Christ, Yahushua HaMashiach, and the constellation of Virgo represents the nation of Israel. In part 1, using Stellarium, we looked at Jupiter in the constellation of Virgo at the location now in time. And we also looked at it at the date of September 2017, which we feel is truly the great sign that John the Revelator spoke of in Revelation 12. And the reason that we brought that up and we did that video because we want to make sure that we are all watching the sky. The Most High told me that we need to look up. There's so much going on in the cosmos right now, and we want to make sure that we're looking up so that we don't miss anything. Now, in the first video, we also noted that there were 3 events that we wanted to look at. 3 times where the planet Jupiter was in the constellation Virgo. 2 of these are historical events, and 1 is in the future. Now, we've already talked about the one that's in the future, and that's September 23rd, 2017. The other 2 events that we want to talk about is the birth of the Messiah, which we will not deal with today, but we'll speak a little bit on it, and the future, and the first Exodus. Now, we've talked about the future Exodus because that, I believe, is the Revelation 12 sign for 2017. But the first Exodus. So we're going to look at that today. In this session, we will talk about the first Exodus of the children of Israel from Egypt in the year 1317 to 1316 BC. Now, I'm using this date because I believe that the Most High led me to this date. And when I did check it out, I found out that it was one of the proposed dates of the Exodus. But strangely enough, when I went back on the internet to try to find references to include in this video, I found out that the PDF files had been locked up and they're not easily accessed anymore. However, since this video is not about proving the exact date of the Exodus, but showing that the planet Jupiter was in Virgo during that time, we're going to just kind of go on with the video. Now, you can actually go on and do a search and you will find information on this, but they've made it more difficult for you to get into. But according to the Bible, and based on the reign of Solomon as computed by several famous church fathers, whose article, as I said, are locked up now, the date of the first Exodus was 1317 BC to 1316 BC. Now, you can Google this for yourself and just check it out, because that is a true date. Now, I'm looking at the first Exodus now because I believe that the type of turmoil and plagues that were going on in the sky and on the earth during the time of the first Exodus, when the children of Israel left Egypt, It's going to happen again, and very soon. Even now we can see evidence of turmoil and disasters happening all around us in the weather, earthquakes, strange wave patterns happening. And these things are going to continue in 2017. We've heard predictions of several days of darkness, water being turned to blood, and many, many other things. So the reason that I wanted to look at the first Exodus to kind of compare it to what's going on now. Now, normally Jupiter enters the constellation of Virgo every 12 years, and it goes through a sort of retrograde motion. Now, it can stay in the constellation of Virgo for up to 2 years. And as we mentioned in part 1, Jupiter is in the constellation now, and it will be in the constellation up until, I think it's around even November of 2017. But Jupiter was also in the constellation in 1317 BC. And that's what we want to talk about in this particular video. Now, in part 3, which is coming up, and we won't get into detail today, but I also believe that Jupiter was in Virgo when Christ was born. Jupiter was there for 2 years, and that is why Herod had the children killed who were 2 years and younger. I realize that there is a long-standing debate on exactly when Christ was born. But according to the stars, Jupiter was in Virgo in the years plus or minus 0, and also in the years plus or minus 12 BC. Now, I know that I was taught and believed that Herod the Great, the one who tried to kill Christ, died in 4 BC. But I'm also finding that there's another date which said he died in 1 BC. And so when I heard that, I said that kind of muddled the water a little bit. So I went back and I did some research, and I found out it really doesn't matter whether Herod died in 1 BC or 3 BC, because a lot of people are advocating that Christ was born in 3 BC. It really doesn't matter. According to the stars, he could not have been born in 3 BC, nor could he have been born in 0 BC. But everything checks out that he could possibly have been born in 12 BC. Now, as I said before, this particular video is not going to talk about that. That's going to be in another video, and I think you'll be surprised on some of the things that I found out concerning 12 BC. Now, just think about it now. We always were told that there were a missing 12 years in Christ's life. He showed up at the temple when he was 12 years old. What happened to him before that? Well, according to what I'm finding out, that if he was born in 12 BC, then that means that he spent most of his time up until 12 years in Egypt and did not come back until Herod died. And Herod died either 1 BC or 4 BC. So Christ did not come back until Jerusalem or Nazareth until after that time. But again, that's not in this video, and I don't want to get too much into detail. So I'm just going to invite you to be on the watch, because I know it's very controversial, and we'll get a chance to talk about it. So Now, before we move into Stellarium and take a look at Jupiter and Virgo around the date of 1317 BC, which is the Exodus timeline that we're using, I want to mention the plagues that are in the book of Revelation, because I'm interested in looking at how the Exodus plagues and the book of Revelation plagues are very similar. Many people talk about something called Planet X or Nibiru, but during the time of the Exodus, there's something mentioned called the Destroyer, which many people are saying that the Destroyer is the same as Nibiru, and that it was actually running during the same time that the first Exodus was. I just want to kind of throw that out, and we're going to see if we can connect the dots a little bit, because there may be more similarities to what's happening now to what's happening then than a lot of us realize. So let's look at Revelation chapter 9, and I'll read a few verses there. Revelation chapter 9. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key to the bottomless pit. And he opened the pit, and there arose smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their forehead. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue has the name Apollyon. Now, I did a little checking on Apollyon. So Apollyon is a Greek god who was one of the sons of the fallen angel. And Apollyon means destroyer. But check this out. Apollyon and Osiris are the same. The Greek god Apollyon is the same god as the Egyptian god Osiris. So what is the connection? So what is the connection? Well, it's something to think about. Okay, this Stellarian session is for the date of 1317 BC to 1316 BC. And we're going to look at Jupiter in the constellation of Virgo to see if that if it's there. And also we're going to look at another date. Basically, I have six dates that I've decided that I'm going to actually kind of go through in this session. I've included these dates in a slide at the end of the video. So if you want to get on, you can get on and try it yourself in your stellarium. Now, I've already set my location to Israel. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of go over and pull up my date. And since we're going to be going into BC, what I'm going to do is just change this date to a 0, and then just kind of back into negative dates, and then just kind of put in, let's see, I'm going to just put in 1317. Let's see, and we're going to see if Jupiter is in Virgo, And as we can see, Jupiter is in Virgo, just going into the constellation of Virgo. This is Virgo, this is Leo here. Now what I'm going to do next is just kind of go down and remove. Remember, this is our horizon line, and we can't see through the horizon, so what I'm going to do is just remove that for right now, just by clicking on this little icon, and this will actually remove the ground. And so now we can actually see actually through the ground. So what I want to do now is select Jupiter, because we're going to watch the flow of Jupiter. We're going to select Jupiter, and we're going to now center Jupiter, so that whenever we put in a date or change the date, things around us will move, but Jupiter and Virgo will remain in the center. And so all I'm going to do right now is just kind of turn it on and let the date flow by a little bit. I'm not going to let that run too long, because it makes me a little dizzy. So what I'm going to do is just kind of click on here, and basically what's going to happen is that the time is going to go by, but because of the fact that we said center Jupiter and Virgo, you will not see them move. They will actually stay, and we're just going to watch the time walk through the constellation Virgo. Watch Jupiter go through the Virgo for just a little while. So I'm going to click on here. Okay. And as I said, what's going on, what you see happening here is that the time is going by, but Virgo and Jupiter are staying center. And so you'll see, because we're actually going day by day, you'll see that that Jupiter is slowly moving. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of speed it up. I'm going to click on the month and kind of let it move by a little quicker. So we still see it there in 1318. I should go the other way. So let's see. Okay. Actually, I'm going the wrong way, so I want to go forward. Yes, go forward. Because what happened is that even though it came into Virgo, it then retrogressed and went back into Leo, and I have that written up on the notes that I have. So I'm just going to now click through and watch it kind of go through, and you see Jupiter has already moved down into the belly, and I'm on 1317 on the 10th month. I'm going to keep going, and it moves down. It's down past the belly of Virgo. And so what I'm going to do now is just kind of go back over here and stop this from bucking, so that we can focus a little bit, and we'll just still skip through the months. So we'll stop it here. Alright. And it's still moving, but it's not moving as quickly. So now we're in 1316 in the second month. So what we're going to do is just going to see what happens. Okay. And so it's moving slowly. That's in the third month. It's still in Virgo though. And we move through. And now we're at the 7th month in 1316. There's Jupiter again, and Jupiter is moving through Virgo, but yet still in Virgo at this point. Let's see, and now we can see that it's almost at the feet of Virgo and getting ready to leave Virgo. And okay, now at this point you see that it's left Virgo, and now it has gone into the constellation of Libra. So we see that it left basically on October 1316 BC. It left Virgo. So now what I wanted to do now is just put in a couple of other dates that I thought were very interesting. The next one is not going to be in Virgo. It's actually going to be in Leo. But I thought it was very interesting because there's a certain conjunction that occurred in Leo, and I wanted to bring that to our attention, because if anyone has ever read the document on the Star of Bethlehem, you'll see that the conjunction that they use to say is the Star of Bethlehem is very similar to the conjunction that I'm getting ready to show you. And the thing that I wanted to bring out is that I don't think that star that they specified, because it's not in Virgo, it's actually in Leo, I don't think that that's the Star of Bethlehem. But I won't get too much into it in this particular session, and we'll talk more about it when we actually do the session on the birth of Christ. So that date that I want to put in is actually 1318. So we're gonna change this to 1318 BC. So we'll have to go 1318 BC, and it's actually on the 7th month and the first day. So we're going to change this to 7, and I'm going to change this to 1. We'll just jump it down to 18. Jump it down to 1 so that we can see it. And I think those are the dates that I found. Again, you have it in your package, so you can actually look at it. Now, this is what I want to point out. If you notice, this is the constellation of Leo. Within the constellation of Leo is Regulus. Now, Regulus is called the king star. Jupiter is called the king planet. Leo is called the king constellation. And so what I wanted to show you, that in the Star of Bethlehem, there's a conjunction where Regulus and Leo actually conjoin. And this happens too. Now, I mean, they have the dates exactly right, but you can switch it. You can move them around a little bit. But, so they're saying that when this occurred, this was the Star of Bethlehem. I do not believe that that was the Star of Bethlehem, because the Bible said that the star, or Jupiter, was going to be in Virgo. So they're saying that when they saw that star, it was all bright and lit up, and so they knew that that was the Star of Bethlehem. I don't think so. I believe that the Star of Bethlehem is something else, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. I definitely believe it involves Jupiter and Virgo, but I wanted to bring that up because there is a conjunction here. And basically what you have Leo, the king constellation, Jupiter, the king planet, and Regulus, the king star, and they are actually in conjunction right now, and I think that is very significant. And also you have Mercury there too. I think that's very significant, but I still do not believe that that is the Star of Bethlehem. So that's basically all I wanted to show in this session. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch this, let you watch this as it kind of goes from here all the way back down into the Virgo constellation. So we're just going to basically turn up the speed a little bit and let that go. And so we're going to say, okay, we're going to move the date a little bit so it can move a little bit quicker. There we moved it to the 8th month. And then as you can see, Jupiter will then go back into Virgo, and this is where we started before. So that's basically all I wanted to kind of point out this time. So yes, during the time that's proposed as the Exodus, Jupiter was in the constellation of Virgo. So as I said, I have included the dates that I'm using for this, so you can get into Stellarium, try it for yourself. And as I said before, remember this little with the red, that's actually Jupiter. This is Virgo, and this is Leo. And so basically that's the session for today. So if you have any questions, please write them up in a comment and we can kind of talk about it. So I'm going to go ahead and end this session right now just by clicking. Now, in conclusion, I must admit I am most fascinated with this Revelation 12 sign. I'm fascinated with Virgo and Jupiter. And I believe that the Most High has given us the sign in Revelation 12 for a number of reasons. Our civilization has just gotten to the point where we now have software and computers that we can use to view the movement of the stars and the constellation in the past, present, and future locations. Our forefathers did not have this technology, even though they had a very, very good ability to observe the stars and their movements manually. We've lost that. But praise the Lord, we do have computers now, and we can kind of get back into the habit of looking at the stars. Now we can go back and see where the stars were when Christ was born. We can look at the stars surrounding the Exodus. We can look into the future to where stars will be at a certain time. Our Creator knew that we would get to this point, and He is marvelous and has given us the ability and the desire to learn these things. Truly, I believe that this is one of the signs where it says that knowledge is increasing. Now, basically, that's all I wanted to present for the Exodus, and just to make mention of how I see the relationship with what happened then, the plagues, disasters, and what's coming up in the future. Now, in my last video in this series, as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to take a look at the stars. I'm going to take a look at Jupiter, in particular in Virgo, during the time I believe was Christ's birth. And I think we're going to uncover some very interesting facts during that session. I know that it'll be controversial because we've already had some discussions on the internet. And I realize that nothing that I present is going to change anything. But I just kind of believe that since I think these things have been revealed to me, I have an obligation to at least share them. I don't think this is going to change anything as far as what's coming up in the next video. But I just want to present it, so I ask you to please stay tuned and watch out for the last video in this series, which will deal with the movement of the planet Jupiter through Virgo during Christ's birth. And I definitely believe that the Revelation 12 sign is now giving us the information that we need to be able to correctly or better predict when Christ was born. So, shalom, and we'll see you in the next video.